You know what time it is? It's mime time. Oh, baby, good gravy. It's 2020 and it's my 20th episode. Yes, it's the 20th episode of Mime Time. So, for my 20th episode of Mime Time in the year 2020, the year of our Lord 2020, I'm going to share with you 20 things I wish I could tell my 20-year-old self. Do you see what I did there? Because it is 2020 and it's my 20th episode and it's 20 things that I wish I could tell my... Maybe I just lost a couple cheeky listeners just then. But, speaking of which, I've hit my record of over 100 listeners. According to Buzzsprout, I currently have 111 listeners. So that's another cheeky milestone I've reached. There are other podcasts who've started probably in the past month and have excelled 1,000, but I know that I'll hit the numbers in my own time when the timing is right. Hopefully soon. We all got to start somewhere. Never forget that. But also in life, really try to get where you want to go in life. 20 things I wish I could tell my 20-year-old self, which is kind of cool. I think this is my first time actually trying to compile, distill all my life experience. I haven't even been on this planet for 3 decades, but I've lived a cheeky bit. And I think that if I knew the things that I knew now a while ago, years ago, when I was in my late teens or early 20s, if I had understood a lot of these things more back then and applied them, then I would be at even a greater stage in my life than I am now. I would become even more of a god than I already am at this point, right? And as a cheeky reminder, if you haven't already, I would love to hear your feedback on this episode or any of my episodes. And if you could even leave a 5-star review with some words down, or if that's too much for you, just a 5-star review. If you could click that on the Apple Podcast Store or the equivalent on other platforms, I would super, super appreciate it. It means a lot to me. Either that, or you could share this episode with a friend. I'd really appreciate that as well. So without further ado, or as they say, without Erica Badu, 20 things I wish I could tell my 20-year-old self. These are things I may have heard or learned from various mentors, books, podcast videos, experiences, and so on since I moved to create 8 years ago. You get it right, like my whole collective experiences. So it's distilled, and some of them may still be a work in progress or things I wish I were better at. So here we go. Number 1, establish a solid morning routine to have good momentum that sets a productive, positive tone for the whole day. Have an evening routine to unwind and get a solid 7 to 8 hours of sleep. As an example, I make my bed every morning. Then I read my affirmations out loud. Then I bow to the ancestors and to those who came before me, who I admire, and say a prayer of gratitude, peace, joy, and love, and ask the spirits for help to have a productive, effective day. Then I turn on the boiler and start grinding my coffee beans, or the water boiler, and make my coffee. Then I have my morning bowel movement and take a massive dump, and then I meditate. A dump followed by an. Just kidding. I don't actually but that is useful. If that's your thing, that's cool. Sometimes I do that. When I start my day like that, it's bam. I have 5 tasks already done, and I carry this momentum on to do the next task of the day. So many days, and I'm sure some of you can relate. So many days might just start off with just 10 minutes, 15 minutes, looking at the phone, checking messages or Facebook or whatever. And all of a sudden it turns into hours, and then you're late for work or date or, whatever, right? Don't be a lazy bum, right? Get out of bed. Don't look at your phone if you can help it when you get out of bed. Okay. Number 2, meditate every day. Meditate every day. Right? This isn't for everybody, but for me, for you, 20-year-old mime, meditate every day. You need that time for yourself to disidentify with your mind and the thoughts of your mind and separate yourself from the hustle and bustle of this insane modern world, especially with the infinite distractions of internet, social media, technology. The benefits are incalculable for peace of mind, for greater focus, for productivity, and a deeper appreciation for your life and day-to-day life and activities. Do not miss out on this. Billionaire hedge fund manager Ray Dalio does transcendental meditation, and he recommends it above everything else. Silicon Valley executives do it. So many people do it, do it because it's so practical to becoming an effective high performer and the focus that comes with it. Do it for the peace of mind, the self knowledge, and the potential you can unlock within yourself. It will magnify all aspects of your life, from simple, mundane moments, commuting or waiting in line at the grocery store, to interacting with loved ones and potential business clients or strangers, to complex enterprises such as planning out your life or business. Number 3, work out at least 3 to 5 times a week. Make yourself sweat. Push yourself in the gym or whatever it is you're doing. It will not only make you look more attractive, you'll get in better shape, but you'll also feel better. And this positive energy, strength, and confidence that comes as a result of consistently putting yourself to the test will flow into all areas of your life, in business, dating, personal relationships, travel, recreation, and so on. It'll really make your life that much more awesome. It'll increase the quality of your day-to-day life when you get into better shape. Number 4, I recommend eating a plant-based diet. Try to get high-quality veggies and or fruits and put that in your body every day for clear energy and focus. Indulge in whatever junk food or snacks you want only on occasion, only once in a while if you really want it, okay, as a reward of sticking to, a disciplined regimen. You know instinctively what's good for you and what's bad for you. Like, you'll be able to feel it in your palate and your gut. And just remember this, what's better for you? 100 burgers or 100 salads? Okay. If you're in really bad shape and like hideously overweight, eating one salad isn't going to change your life. Okay. Even eating a salad every day for a week is not going to probably show any noticeable results. Likewise, if you're in really good shape, top shape, if you have a burger here and there, it's not going to really impact you. But again, it's 100 burgers or 1,000 burgers. Okay. It's all these little actions that add up over the course of, the period of weeks and months and years. If you're not into all that chewing, broccoli or whatever, get a blender. I have a blender. I use it every day. It is awesome. I eat healthy veggies in a smoothie that replaces my first meal of the day, and I save money. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, and moving on to number 5. Get lots. I wrote down in my script, gets lot. Get lots of high quality sleep for a high quality day. This goes back to number 1, having a solid winding down evening routine followed by sleep and a solid morning routine. So turn off lights around the apartment a couple hours before you fall asleep. Make sure your bedroom is pitch black or at least have good eye blinds. Make sure you're very comfortable. Control the temperature so that you're most comfortable. I find that I get hot really easy. So if I need to, I'll put on the AC or maybe the fan, or I'll take a cold shower. For some people, they might find that depending on the season or their body type, that it's best for them to take a hot shower right before they go to sleep. And I've done that a couple of times. That kind of helps. That works in winter, right? When it's cold. But for me, I find, especially in the summertime, that I take a cold shower. I just 5 minutes in, or maybe 5 minutes is too long, but just like a full douse in the shower and then coming out, not even like drying myself up, but just sitting in front of the fan or AC for a little bit. Don't overdo it because you don't want to catch a cold and blah, 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 blah. But that helps me get to bed feeling really cool and really comfortable and ready to go to sleep. So I found that if I get too hot, then that's what I need to do. And that usually helps a lot. Make sure you're very comfortable when you go to sleep. Use earplugs or put on soothing music or audio as a trigger to fall asleep. There's so many things you can look up online, right? And, one thing that I should also have added to this list is, if you don't know something, Google it and figure it out. Okay, number 6. Always follow through on your word. If you say you're going to meet someone for coffee or tea or grab lunch, then do it. Don't flake. Do it for yourself, just as a principle. Always follow through on your word. If someone asks you to do something and you say you'll do it, do it. As a corollary, be punctual. If you're going to be late or need to reschedule, let the other party know in advance. Get to work or your appointment 5 to 10 minutes in advance, with maybe like a book to read or some other work that you could do before you have to meet, or, nothing too distracting. So yeah, follow through on your word. It's really important. not just for the other party, but also for building your own sense of personal pride in yourself, that you take pride in your work. Okay, that's so powerful. And I wouldn't have gotten here if I didn't do it, right? Because I said I was going to do an episode um every week. Although a couple weeks ago I didn't do it, but I just figured, oh, I put out 2 episodes in 1 week. The goal being 4 episodes a month, right? So, anyways, I gave my word. Okay, but if I hadn't done that, then I would probably have had, I don't know, only 1 episode this past month, right? I've given my word, okay, and so I have to fulfill it. I have to make it real. You can talk the talk, but you also gotta walk the talk. I think that's what they say, right? Okay, number 7, take massive action. Meet lots of people, and try lots of different things until you find what you're good at. When I first came to Korea, I went to open mics all the time. I've done guitar covers, a couple of rap songs, spoken word, comedy, and even hosted my own open mic at one point. I wasn't that great, but just me putting myself out there allowed wonderful opportunities for me to network and find work, right? I would just go out and meet with a lot of people, be cool to people, be like a connector, be like a networker, a social butterfly at sometimes. And then eventually I you know, was likable to some people that they asked me, "Hey, mime, like, I need to take off work, or I need to get away from the city. Like, do you want to work my job for like a couple of weeks and get paid?" And I was like, "Oh, sure." So I found that's just one example, but for one of my really good part-time jobs that I've been working at for the past several years, that's how I got it. It's like been it's been the best job I've ever had. And I wouldn't have been able to find that job if it wasn't for the person I connected with, who I met at an open mic, right? So I went to some open mics, and this guy saw that I had good positive energy, and he asked if I like kids. Like, sure, I love kids, and blah 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 blah. And so that's how I got that great job, and it changed my life, right? So you don't know until you put yourself out there. If I had just been like staying home, you know, just like on my phone all day, not meeting people, not trying to figure things out, not at least trying to test my different talents or abilities, and I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have been able to be talking to you right now. Okay, so it's all because I took massive action. Doesn't mean that it was all calibrated. Doesn't mean that I didn't embarrass myself or that I wasn't awkward in many social situations. But I put myself out there. So again, number 7 is take massive action. Put yourself out there, and do things that are hard to push yourself, which is kind of a general statement. But let me move on to the next point. Number 8, don't spend too much time on social media. Social media is a wonderful tool to connect, share, and provide value with the world. Make your time spent on social media intentional, meaningful, and impactful. Remember, it's a tool. If you don't control your habits with it, then you're the tool. In Soviet Russia, social media uses you. That's my terrible Russian accent. I apologize to any of my Rusky fam out there. Try to produce as much as you consume, if not more. What you consume and produce, make it higher quality content that's relevant to what you're passionate about. Content that's inspiring, motivational, practical to who you are and what you want out of life. Life is to be lived, not watched through a phone, at least not all the time. Notice when you pull up an app for no other reason than you're bored and seek a distraction. Notice that, okay? And then just tell yourself, okay, I'm going to put my phone away and just focus on what I need to do. And if I pull up Instagram, that's what I tell myself. Like if I'm pulling up Instagram, it's honestly maybe just to reach some, like see if somebody DM'd me, because sometimes like I'm kind of proud of this. Sometimes I miss people's DMs because I'm not as good as checking at checking Instagram as I am Kakao Talk. So if you DM'd me on Instagram and it takes me a while to respond, I'm sorry. It's just because like I'm focused on Kakao Talk. That's just how it works for me right now. But my point is like I intentionally, make my time with social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and so on. Like I make it intentional, and I always hesitate, or not hesitate, but like I know when I'm spending too much time of it, I'm like, okay, I need to focus on something else, because that's time I could spend writing notes down or messaging someone or finding or thinking about who to contact for my podcast for Mime Time, right? So Mime Time, so Facebook, Instagram, like news feeds, they'll always be out there. There'll always be Kronas, something, and I don't know, some disaster, some serious political incident happening in the world, okay? And if it's really important, then it'll impact my life or someone will tell me. If it's really that out there, then I'm gonna find out anyways through word of mouth. But mime time, no one else is gonna work on mime time but me. No one else is gonna work on this but me. So yeah, again, don't spend too much time on social media. Going on to number 9, mentors. Meet lots of people so you can surround yourself with great people. Gravitate towards people who are greater than you, and naturally you should do this. And people who can be your mentors, or even just peers who are a couple of steps ahead in life, right? And be curious, be polite, be friendly, smile, just you can leverage the fact that you're young, right? Because people like to help other people, especially if it's someone who's younger and seems eager and earnest, right? This is something that Eric Z. Yang um, has said before. And so yeah, you can leverage the fact that you're young. And if you're just, again, if it seems like that, you can just reach out to someone you respect or someone you admire and just say like, hey, like I really admire that what the way you work in this manner, or I admire your company, or I admire your project, your art, your music, or whatever. And I was wondering, and this song really impacted me in a meaningful way, or like this tip that you gave really like helped me out with something recently. So if I could, I'm just ripping off Eric Z. Yang's like how to reach like a potential speaker template, but it's like people are human too, and people also want to feel appreciated. And so if they have some time, then they'd be willing to also help you out, right? And so I'm lucky you just put yourself out there enough, and then eventually you'll find some people who are at a intermediate or more advanced stage in life in whatever endeavor, and they'll need to find people that they can teach, students who they need to help them with some tasks, or just even to remind them of like why they're on their personal journey. I would not be here without my mentors, period. My mentors, you know who you are if you're listening to this. Like you've been so huge to my personal, spiritual, and like entrepreneurship journey. You got to seek mentors and learn from the things that they tell you, learn from their mistakes so that you don't have to make them as much, if at all, hopefully. Moving on to number 10, seeing great successful people. Don't be discouraged from endeavor by people who are greater than you in any field. It could be playing guitar, it could be business, finance, entrepreneurship, art, music, fitness, dating. You won't know for sure unless you try for yourself. And if you try earnestly and fail to reach your goals, then you will probably have learned a great deal about yourself and about life and about how these different dynamics work. Is that really failure then? No, that's pure gain in experience and wisdom. You will already have dared to experience more than most in life. Okay. You're already, closer to becoming the 1%. Number 11, just get it started and roll with the momentum and keep it going. Whatever it is that you want to do in life. Go in, fail fast, fail hard, fail forward, keep going. Don't be worried about having the perfect thing to say to that pretty girl in the bar. Don't be worried about if your form in the gym is perfect or not, or if your marketing ad execution is perfect or not. Just constantly take action and make course corrections and fine adjustments as time goes on, and learn. Take action, make mistakes, learn from mistakes, try again. This list of 20 things I want to share with you, is it perfect? Is this 20 things I wish I could tell my 20-year-old self? Is this list perfect? Is it as good as it can be when there's so many other amazing blog posts, pieces of content, audiobooks, podcast episodes out there that are already perfectly edited and formatted for consumption, from other amazing artists and people out there, right? From their unique, awesome life experiences. Couldn't I spend another week or so refining this list of 20 things and making it super duper amazing? Yeah, sure. But then that's less time I have to my other endeavors, less time I have to work on my next episode. Swing the bat, pull the trigger, pay the price to action. The important thing, the thing that actually matters, is executing. The fact that I'm putting this piece of content out at all, it's mine, and no one can take that away from me. It's Mime Time. It's the 20th episode of Mime Time. I'm putting it out there because it's better that I put it out there than not. You have to put the effort and time into a meaningful endeavor, and whether or not it's quote unquote perfect or as good as you think it should be, well, if you do it, no one can take that away from you. And if you keep doing it, if you keep executing and taking the intentional steps to improve, then of course you will get better. It's only inevitable. You can take great pride in that. Even the greats started from zero. We all started from humble beginnings. And even those who didn't, like people who were born into rich families or whatever, their parents or grandparents came from humble beginnings. Now it's your turn, your opportunity to put yourself out there into the world and let society and the markets test your character and value. Don't be scared. We all are. Number 12, save $5,000 or about 6 months of rent and living expenses that you do not touch under any circumstances, save an emergency. Maybe you have to leave the country. Maybe a war breaks out. Maybe you lose your job or you get injured. Whatever it is, keep this somewhere like under your bed or something. You could put it into a savings account with some interest, but otherwise don't use this to invest. This is not money you're supposed to touch. I used to do this myself. Then I forgot and I've made financial decisions I regret. Big mistake. Also, please, please, please don't get into debt either to institutions or family or friends. It really sucks. If you have debt, especially to a friend, it should keep you up at night. Fulfill your obligations as best as you can, as soon as you can. Number 13, read lots of good books. Here are some very important books that have been very influential in my life with some notes on each. Some of these books I haven't actually read all the way through myself. Take things with a grain of salt when you read. Learn to discern for yourself what makes sense and what works for you and what's applicable to your life. Also, just because you read a book doesn't mean you've internalized the principles or content in a meaningful way that improves the quality of your life. And that's the whole point of spending your valuable time and attention to consume this content. Don't just read books, learn how to read books and learn how to acquire the knowledge and wisdom and effectively apply it into your life. Some of these books I've read or listened to in audiobook format 3 to 5 times or even more. And even then, they're worth rereading. You have to experience life, read these to connect the words and thoughts to experiences in your own life, and then reread it to make more connections in your own mind, to internalize the principles even more. Learn to speed read. Read fast, but be focused and read well. When you come across important information, make a note of it. Learn to review important stuff, reflect on it, and make connections to experiences in your own life. So here within my list of 20 things I wish I could tell my 20-year-old self is a list of books to read, pieces of literature that have been very influential in my own life in the past 8 years or so. So number one, it's not actually a book, but it's like a 16-page essay by Ralph Waldo Emerson called Self-Reliance. I've mentioned this essay a couple times in my podcast, and this was one of the most influential pieces of work in my own life. So if you want to know more, you can look it up and also check out episode 5 of Mime Time for more info. This is one of those things I've read or listened to on audio like 15 times. And the thing is, if you're perceptive as you read or revisit things that you've read in the past, like you learn more and you have a deeper appreciation for the thoughts and the ideas in it. And then next we have The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. This is for meditation and breaking free of identifying with the mind, finding peace in a chaotic world, which will empower you to be a more effective, yet also more compassionate, kind, realer human being. For me, this is a Bible. This book, The Power of Now, is like a Bible to me. And I love Eckhart Tolle so much. This is one of those books that has changed my life and made me a better person overall. In terms of dealing with past trauma or current day stresses, like the mind always wants to pull you back into the past, and then you always worry about the future as well. But this book is about focusing on the present moment and realizing that there's no past or no future. There's only the present moments which we experience life through. And if we can meditate on this, we can appreciate this, then we can really free ourselves of, the identification with the ego. And for me, like this brings a lot more peace into my life on a day-to-day and moment-to-moment basis. This book taught me to realize that I am not my thoughts. I'm not the thoughts that come into my mind, but I'm the silent observer, the witness, looking, noticing the thoughts. Because thoughts are a funny thing. You think that you think thoughts like, oh, I think this about that, or I think that person's pretty cool. But really, thoughts are something that just come to your mind and then you experience them. just like a heartbeat. You don't say, I beat my own heart. This is a subconscious automatic process of the body. And in a similar way, thoughts are not something that you consciously choose to have. If you're driving and someone cuts you off or someone cuts you in line, you're like, oh man, I hate that guy. What a jerk, right? If you think these things, this is something automatic. You don't have to actually put conscious effort into it. It's just something that comes to your mind and then you feel the emotion behind it. Well, if almost every moment of every day we have these thoughts and they're reactions to the outer environment, and all we're doing is focusing on our thoughts and identifying with this mind, then you're really like just giving into like these unconscious, subconscious processes, and you don't really have free will, which is like kind of a trippy thing to think. But I know there are times in my life when I made bad decisions or I got really angry at someone or I got, in like a bad state and I just made decisions that I regretted. Maybe I yelled at my ex-girlfriend or I mistreated a friend of mine when they really didn't deserve it. And in that moment, I was just so overcome with emotion, right? It's like that thing, what came over me? Well, it's your mind, it's your thoughts. And like you don't really have control over your day-to-day life, your actions and your behavior if you don't know where these things come from. And you can at least start observing it and then slowly learn how to meditate, slowly learn how to focus, and then have more emotional control. And I think that is a more realer, practical picture of what real freedom looks like, living life on your own terms, not just being a prisoner of your own mind, a prisoner to your own impulses and thoughts, but at least being able to control how you react to them. You can't control what thoughts come into your mind, but you can perhaps control your relationship and the energy and the reaction you have to them. Anyways, The Power of Now, it's amazing. Okay, moving on to the next book. Number 3, Atomic Habits by James Clear. This is about building lifelong habits over time that will lead to great success in life in all aspects. And if you check out the book, I listened to it at least like 3 times on audiobook. And I should listen to it another 3 times because, I still need to work on putting the time in for all of my positive habits, whether it's going to the gym or keeping a more organized household, or even doing the countless steps needed for me to record, edit, publish, and market this podcast. It does a great job of breaking down the science of habit making, have habit formation, so that you can take practical steps in your own life to build the habits that will change your life in the ways that you want to go, right? If you think of an atom as the smallest individual unit, right, then a habit is something that's built over time with many, many small individual steps, right? Going to the gym once, is not going to change your physique, but you go to the gym 100 times over a course of months, then that can change your life. If you have 100 sandwiches, 100 burgers versus 100 salads, one burger is not going to change your life. It's not going to make you like grossly overweight. But if you have 100 burgers instead of 100 salads, right, you get the idea. So that is atomic habit formation, right? Breaking it down to the smallest individual steps that you can take on a regular day-to-day basis. But then also atomic refers to, say, nuclear power, because you have all these atoms brought together and you could have something that's quite explosive and hard. Okay, number 4, The 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins. What's good about Atomic Habits in this book, at least the audiobook versions, is that they're just a few hours not long. They're not like some 10-hour novel, but you can read it once or twice and get the feel for it. The 5-second rule is just a neat trick to help you take action on a moment-to-moment basis. So if you're like stuck in your thoughts or you're, I don't know, spending too much time on social media, but there's things you need to get done, or you even just like the first moment of the day, you wake up and you need to get out of bed, but you just start, looking at your phone, and next thing you know, hours go by and you haven't taken any meaningful tasks. You haven't done the things that you need to do, right? You just count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then when you hit 0, you just take action, whatever it is. However clean the execution is, it doesn't matter. You take action, because so much of us are just paralyzed, I think, I keep saying day to day, moment to moment, but that's where our lives are lived, right? In this moment. And so for me, when I'm at the gym, and for me, a problem at the gym for me is that I take too much time in between sets or even between reps. Sometimes, like I will, if I'm doing 3 sets of 10 on the bench press, maybe I'll let a minute or 2 minutes, or if I'm really distracted, I'll let 5 minutes go before, I hit the next set. But by then I've already cooled off. So the effect of me doing the sets isn't as compounded as it should be. So something that helps me go get through the set, get through the gym session is for me to always tell myself, okay, can I do this? Well, let me try. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And then I try to push out a rep, try to push out the set. And this also goes for me just doing my podcast. Maybe like I'm distracted by something, but then I'm like, oh, I really need to do the podcast, but this, I have to do this and that, and I have to publish it to the website or whatever, all these things. But then I just say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and I try to take action. Or maybe I need to talk to a coworker or a friend about something that bothers me. And instead of just thinking about, should I do it or should I not? I just try to take an action or make a decision by going 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. It's like, hey, there's something I wanted to talk to you, bro. That last time you behaved this way, like it really upset me and I just want to like talk it out, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that's a good book. I need to revisit that one. Number 5, A Book of Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi. You can glean some wisdom from an ancient, undefeated samurai warrior in not just martial arts, but on living on the bleeding edge of life in execution and perception of the deeper principles of life. It's a bit esoteric and, is written from another time, but this is something, that, spiritual folk or, businessmen, CEOs like, read, right? Because the principles in it are just timeless. It's really awesome. So I don't know how to explain it right now. I need to reread it again, just like everything on this list probably. But I recommend that book, A Book of Five Rings. It's really cool. Number 6, The 12-Week Year by Brian Moran and Michael Lennington. Talks about time compression. Condense the plans of a year into 12 weeks, and make time very precious so you can take consistent day-to-day, week-by-week steps to realize your vision. To be honest, this is something that I need to do myself. I need to just write out a 12-week year for me in terms of what I want out of life, in terms of my health and my fitness, my self-development, and this podcast and other things going on in my life. I need to write out concrete steps on a day-to-day, I keep saying this, day-to-day, week-by-week basis. And when I do that, I'll write it out in a podcast episode and share it with y'all so you guys can get a real-world example of what that looks like. So number 6 was the 12-week year. Number 7 is the 4-hour work week. So I want you to read the 12-week year as well as the 4-hour work week. This book and the author Tim Ferriss, right? They're super famous and read by like digital nomads and financially independent, retire early folk around the world. This book is basically about taking the measures to free up time to do the things you want to do. So you can make money when you're not working, you're not exchanging hours for dollars. And it's also not so you can literally just work 4 hours a week, which I guess you can do that. And I guess people do that. I know people who do that. But so you can spend more time on the endeavors that are more meaningful and impactful to you. In episode 3, I interviewed Chris Kim, who started Badass Asian Dudes podcast and the Facebook community group. Shout out to all my Badass Asian Dudes out there. And he mentions that the 4-Hour Work Week was a really influential book to him. And he did it. He started his own profitable online business. And he got to do the whole digital nomad, travel the world type stuff. And I'm kind of envious, to be honest, but also inspired by him. And I heard about this book before from lots of different people. And I read some reviews of it, and this one particular criticism of it that it's just like, oh, Tim Ferriss talks about the 4-hour work week, but he actually hustles and he meets people all the time to do all kinds of business ventures and blah, 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 blah. Like, it's not really that legit is the feeling that I got from it years ago, right? I didn't really give it a proper, fair look. And then I mentioned this to Chris during our interview, and he said, well, why don't you actually read it and see what it's about? And I'm like, okay, well, Chris Kim did what he's wanted to do for the past several years. And he cites this book as a major influence. He tried to execute on the principles of the book, and it's worked out very well for him as far as I can see. So thank you, Chris Kim, for this book recommendation and for letting me get over my own ego so I can actually take a look at it because it's really cool. Perhaps some of the information is outdated or whatever, but the principles or the ideas in it should just help you even think in a different way so you can have more time and money to do all the things you want in life. Moving on to number 8, How to Be a 3% Man by Corey Wayne. There are many good resources out there on dating, like Models by Mark Manson, but this one helped me out a lot. If you're not happy with your dating life, read through this stuff again and again. Again, this applies to the men out there. I would say read this again and again until what you've learned changes your behavior and allows you to attract the woman you want in your life. I would say this book was very helpful for me in my own dating life. Number 9, I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. Automating finances and changing the way you look at money so that you have more of it and you can live the life that you want to live. Number 10, Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza. Knowing that power, health, self-actualization are all within your mind and within your being. Rewire your brain, rewire your body, rewire your life. Number 11, Principles by Ray Dalio. Find out what principles work for you, who you are, and figure out the principles of the world and society and relationships and how everything works so life is not just a chaotic collage, but an organized, categorizable series of events and cause-effect relationships so you can learn from the past to see the future and act accordingly. Number 12, Deep Work by Cal Newport. Focus. In life, you must be able to deep work. In order for me to write out all this stuff, distill wisdom from my many experiences and books read, to organize it, polish it, I'm doing deep work. At least, my form of deep work in making this very podcast episode. I'm not checking Facebook every 5 minutes because that is death and I will never realize my dreams. Simple as that. You must be able to focus on solving complex tasks for hours at a time. Most people don't even put in a solid hour of meaningful work a day. They dilly-dally at some 9 to 5 and anesthetize themselves with distraction like Facebook, Instagram, instant chat rooms. You have to cut out all the white noise and produce the solid signal that you want. You stretch your hand out to God in a solid hour of prayer by focusing on a task in order to get something accomplished. It's like working out at the gym. You have to do this consistently, day in and day out. If you're able to focus, you are like Neo being able to see the matrix and potentially liberate yourself, while everyone else is stuck in the matrix of scatterbrained attentions. You are in the 1%. You have a superpower and you will rise above the majority and their clutter. Complementary reading includes Digital Minimalism and The Shallows. Those books will also give you a deeper appreciation for this scatterbrained world that we live in. It'll give you more awareness so you can take control of your own life and have more focus towards the things that really matter to you in your own life. Again, you hearing my voice right now is me doing deep work. The hours that it takes for me to produce this one episode, okay? This is deep work. This is an example of deep work. It might not be my finest work. It may not be all that I'm capable of, but the fact is I'm putting the time in the midst of countless distractions and responsibilities and obligations I have knocking on my door on a day-to-day basis. I've been putting the time in. And if a bum like me can do it, so can you. Okay, and book number 13, Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. You are not so weak, not as weak as you think. I read this to gain inspiration from David Goggins' story. Know that if he can go through deep suffering and extreme challenges and rise to the top as a strong, beautiful man, you can too. Or a strong, beautiful woman. Know that there's a deep place inside your mind that is able to overcome any obstacle, extreme amounts of pain. Also read Fearvana by Akshay Nanavati. We can use pain. We can use our past trauma. We can use suffering, whether physical, emotional, mental, to propel ourselves to become greater, superior human beings. We can use the struggle, this beautiful struggle over our fear and pain and suffering to propel us to new heights of human consciousness and experience. There's nothing holding you back but the limitations of your own mind. And that concludes number 13 in my list of 20 things I wish I could tell my 20-year-old self. That's a list of about 13 pieces of literature that I highly recommend anyone read, especially to my 20-year-old self. Moving on to number 14. Learn how to market, learn how to sell. In life, you have to sell yourself. You must learn marketing. You must learn sales. Marketing is about telling a story in which you offer value to other people. It's not about cheating or deceiving people to gain at other people's expense. Don't be ashamed of going for the kill, of going for the sale. Don't be afraid of asking what you want. Always come from a frame of offering value that another party wants, not wasting other people's time or money. Don't waste time resenting the world or the system. Don't resent money or the fact that the world revolves around money. Don't hate the player and don't even hate the game. The game is what brought you into existence in the first place. How can you resent that which brought you here, that you could even experience glimpses of the potential, joy, and magnitude of the universe? And another thing I read recently, all other things made equal, people like to buy from their friends. So make all other things equal, product quality and marketing and blah, 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 and have people buy from you. Find or create a solid, worthwhile product or service that will add positive value to other people's lives. And from there, work on the marketing. Number 15, be hard on yourself and set yourself to a high standard. At the same time, be forgiving to yourself. As the quote goes, be lenient towards others, but a hard master on yourself. Hold yourself to the highest standard possible. When you deal with people, there's the way of fire and the way of water. The way of fire is to be harsh and chastise, lecture, and be emotionally stern so that the pain of being chewed out, with that pain, you become stronger and wiser. But with the way of fire, when it burns, it leaves a scar. So you sort of continue the cycle of pain and resentment to your juniors who you lecture or to other people. I argue that this is better than not receiving discipline or correction at all, the way of fire. However, I prefer the way of water, which is my namesake. You catch more flies with honey than vinegar. Know the carrot, know the stick. I lean towards the way of water, honey, and the carrot. I appreciate the way of fire and the way of water. I think it's good to know both. But as time goes on, I lean more towards water, to reiterate. So I rarely argue with people anymore, at least not as much as I used to. And I choose generally not to argue with people, not because I think I'm better than them, although my ego might think that way at times. I just think they have their stories, their narratives, and there's always some truth to them or their way of seeing the world. I listen to them and give a charitable interpretation. In their minds, they're doing the best that they can. If I'm actually going to influence people or change their minds on perhaps some important issues, to challenge them directly and criticize their ideas or perception of the world is an attack on their ego. Their walls of resistance will go up and they will resent you. Why shouldn't they? I've been wrong about many things in life about how the world works. So I might disagree with someone on some fundamental political or philosophical issue. In my mind, I might think that person is a fool. If I want to gratify my ego, I will see that person as lesser than me and feel superior to him or her. But if I'm honest with myself, I know that I have thought or behaved foolishly countless times in my life. I know that I have been defensive and can still be defensive when really that doesn't help anybody. Resenting or condescending to others for differences in life, for this or that, it doesn't actually lift me or humanity up at all. My time is better spent focusing on the task at hand. To go more into the way of water, water can be gentle and still, but with time and momentum, it can erode all forms of resistance and it carves out great canyons and valleys. So kill them with kindness, mean it, be compassionate to your enemies so that you have no enemies. Give people the benefit of the doubt and they'll do the same for you. Only then can I build real trust with people in personal and business relationships. To quote Bruce Lee, empty your mind, be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water in a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend. Number 16, always think about what the other person or party is thinking. Be aware of how you present yourself physically, mentally, socially, and so on. Learn to read people's faces, their body language, their emotions, their actions, and interpret the meaning behind what people say and do. It may save your life. There's a deeper meaning to people. Search for it. If you can master this, you gain the superpower of being able to read minds and connect with people on a deeper level. Number 17, forgive. Don't take things personally. Love and accept yourself, your limitations, your fears, and take action. Forgive your parents. They did the best they can. Forgive the world. It is what it is. Dwelling on what should have been or what shouldn't have been only holds you back and takes away valuable mental energy from what little time you have left. Everyone has very embarrassing or shameful experiences in their life they would never share with other people. You're actually not that alone. Don't let it hold you back. When I lash out at others, I lash out at myself. My whole life has been blaming the world while I held the gun to my own head. It's time to put the gun down. Forgiveness will not only make you more at peace with yourself, it will make you more at peace with the world, and you can share that peace and subsequently joy and love with the world. Number 18, foster a deep sense of wonder for the mystery and majesty of the universe, and a deep, all-encompassing gratitude for life and all that is. We're literally stardust, coalesced over time, walking around on a tiny rock in an indescribably vast expanse that is impossible for the human mind to fully comprehend. It took eons to get to this moment. Do you remember however many millions of years ago, the great dinosaurs roamed the earth and now they're dead? Their fossils are a sad reminder that other living beings came before us. Entire generations of precious life gone forever, extinct. That's not even considering human life. Don't you think our ancestors, if their spirits were watching us, would give anything for 5 minutes of conscious life? I would give anything to bring back 5 minutes of time with my dad, to tell him I forgive him and love him. Think about all of these crazy hardships, disasters, famines, wars that killed so many people since humans started writing shit down. Don't you think those ghosts would give anything to have an opportunity at life in this incredible day and age to experience? What do you have to complain about? What is holding you back from pursuing your wildest dreams? When you are the wildest dreams of your ancestors, you are the future. Think about their hardships. Their hardships were so much greater than yours, so you have no excuse and no time to waste to realize your full potential. Your problems, while they didn't have to experience, are better problems to have, first world problems or otherwise. With first world problems come first world opportunities. You can build your own little world, your own kingdom, our cavemen or peasant ancestors could only have dreamed of. Sure, we all die and go back to the ether, but those cavemen and peasants would be cheering you until you go back to join them. Number 19, be content and grateful for where you're at, while at the same time pushing yourself to become better. Be content enough so you're not always focused on getting to the future and you can be present to the moment, but also be discontent enough knowing you can become better, that you want to get to that next level with the proper purpose and intention. It's a fine balance you have to learn for yourself. I'm still learning it myself. Have the determination to get to the next level, but also appreciation for where you are. The present moment is all you have, so honor it. Lastly, number 20, have faith. Believe in yourself. Faith is the operative word. Deep inside your heart and your dreams is the perfect vision of your future self, the person you've always desired to become. You can reach that. I'm living proof. And that concludes 20 things I wish I could tell my 20-year-old self. I hope this was pretty comprehensive enough. I think if someone had told me these things 20 years ago and I just started to systematically work through all of these points, I would have probably a better overall life position. And I think if someone had laid all these things out and just forced me to do it, if I could have forced myself at the age of 20, then by the time I reached 28, which is how old I am now, then I would have exceeded my current life position. So if you're listening to this and you're 20 years old or a few years older, or a few years younger, then I encourage you to hustle and really learn to just enjoy the journey of self-discovery and becoming the best version of yourself, as I started myself about 8 years ago or so. There's also a YouTube video that I would like for you to check out. I'll put it in the description. It's called An Old Man's Advice by Bernard Albertson, who tragically recently passed away. I would seriously encourage any young person to watch that video and take the things that he says to heart. So to wrap up, if you listen to these things, these 20 things, and apply them diligently, by the time you're my age, you'll have surpassed me. Think about what a dragon you'll become. Think about the glorious adventures, the good times, the personal fulfillment, the pursuit of happiness. Think about what an amazing individual you will have become, and you will have earned the life that you have every step of the way. There's nothing holding you back. Nobody needs to give you permission. Make a promise to me that you'll do everything you can to become the best version of yourself. When things are hard, know that there is an entire legion of magnanimous spirits cheering you on. Great generals, kings, presidents, artists, entrepreneurs, mystics, philosophers, workers, peasants, former slaves, cavemen. They're all so proud of you. For me, sometimes I imagine Ralph Waldo Emerson, King Sejong the Great, and my father putting their hands on my shoulders when I'm going through a rough time or when I'm experiencing a moment of triumph. They're telling me that they're proud of me. They're telling me I'm the finest, most intelligent, wonderful, strongest specimen Korea and America have ever produced. They're telling me that they love me. And someday, when I'm gone, I'll be there right alongside them, telling you the same. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this, whoever you are, wherever you are, and how old you are even. And you know what? Maybe there's one thing I want to add, some cheeky little bonus on top of these 20 things I wish I could tell my 20-year-old self. And that's, you can reach out to me with the powers of the interwebs. You can reach out to me if you need help or if you want someone to just have a chat, someone to listen to. If you're going through a hard time, if you feel like no one listens to you, if you feel like you don't have any hope in this world, or if you feel like you don't have any value to offer, you can reach out to me. Hit me up at Instagram or send me an email, mime@mimetime.com. The world has given so much to me, especially through the internet, that I just want to give back. You can change your mind. You can change your life. You can change your world. I know that this world seems that's very dark and that there's lots of pain and suffering wherever you look. But on the flip side of that is great peace, joy, vindication, success, victory. And while I believe that currently I'm nowhere near towards realizing my full potential, I know that I can handle the challenges that life throws at me because I've gotten this far. And this life situation that I'm in now, I consciously chose to be in a place like this 8 years ago. And so if I can help anyone out there to help them edge along, help them take a few steps towards their right direction, then, mime time, mission accomplished. If you found this episode meaningful or valuable at all, then please let me know or share it with a friend. And again, please leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or any other applicable platform. I would really appreciate it. Wow. So that was episode 20. 20 episodes down, 80 more to go until I hit my goal of 100 episodes. And then we'll see what I go with this podcast. But I'm doing it. We're doing it, man. We're being gold, mate. Again, thank you so much and tune in for the next episode of Mime Time. Oh, baby.